G'day folks, in this video I'm going to do an unboxing and I just wanted you to see the size of the box first. What am I talking about? There's a 3x3 cube. I have to say I'm not entirely sure why the box is so big, unless one of the puzzles in here is way bigger than even I thought. Okay, here's one of the reasons. They've been extremely well packed. So I'll just try throwing all that out until I get to the puzzles. And I really hope that the camera is in the right position here for when these do come out. Let's have a look. There's one of them. There's another. Oh, that's right. I forgot there was a fourth puzzle I ended up ordering. So very well packed. You can see all of these. Wow. I actually have forgotten what the fourth one is. I'm going to have to take a break and look it up. So what is going on here? Well, these are from Chewy's Puzzles, and it was in a moment of weakness about, I'm going to say, what's that, 1875, about 95 days ago. Chewy on the Twisty Puzzles forum put out I'm having a 35% off sale. I thought that's actually a pretty cool discount. Let's have a look. And I decided I wanted about 30 puzzles on the site, and in the end thought, well, I don't have $10,000, so therefore I thought, can I just get away with some? I ended up choosing 3 of them. The reason that I've got 4 is interesting. I've got to figure out which is the 4th one. I think that was one of the originals. That was one of the originals. I'm pretty sure it's this one, whatever this thing is. I'm going to have to look that up, as I said. I don't know, a week or 2 later, he posted, I'm now doing another kind of thing where if you buy 3 puzzles, you get one free or something or other. I sort of contacted him and said, oh, look, if I'd known that was coming, I would have waited and got a 4th one. So he was good enough to sort of honor that, and I paid a bit extra to get the 4th puzzle. So I thought, if you ever see my wife, please do not tell her about this. She doesn't know. This has ended up costing me, I think, over $500. I'm probably going to have to sell them just to salvage my marriage. But nevertheless, I'm pretty excited about having them. The reason I'm so clueless on them is because, as I said, it was about 95 days ago when it happened. It took approximately 75 days between my ordering and paying and then being sent. So that's just to give you an idea. If you do end up ordering from the same shop, I'll leave the links in the description, you may be in for a bit of a wait. Then it took probably, about 2.5 weeks, maybe 2 weeks to actually get here, which is pretty good. So I'm going to try and look at these one by one. As I said, I think that's the 4th one I got. So give me a minute, I'm going to get these undone. Okay, I'm going to look at these one by one. As I said, I'm a little out of it in terms of I've forgotten really what I ordered and how this all happened because it was so long ago. But I have to say, the quality of these puzzles just from a first glance looks outstanding. So worth the wait? Yeah, definitely seems so. This one is the Skewby Rhombic. I'm no expert in these things, so I'm actually going to read what's on the website from Chewy's Puzzles. Many of you will know much more about these than I do, but it looks beautiful. Skewby Rhombic is a hybrid cube and face-turning puzzle in the shape of a rhombic dodecahedron. Okay, there's our rhombuses. Dodecahedron's got 12 sides. Okay, so it's a hybrid face and skewb. Is that the skewb? One of the skewb turns like that? Yes, it's certainly turning. That's really nice and smooth. And I got this as well. It's actually a good in terms of, and I'm getting no kickbacks or anything here. So whatever I say, if I say it's good, it actually is. If I say it's bad, it actually is. But my point is, I like the tension on this. Like, it's quite smooth to turn, but it's not so buttery smooth that it runs away from you. So really good so far. Face turning. I'm going to assume that means these things turn, do they? That seems quite stiff. Yes, that is going to turn. Okay, that is certainly much stiffer. So I don't know whether that means I'm going to need to, oh my goodness, do some adjusting. I would say yes. But I've got to be brutally honest, and I'm getting used to puzzles not turning as you would expect them to turn. I'm talking about mass-produced puzzles mainly here. So I'm not overly surprised that this isn't turning as I would like it, but I suspect also it will need a little bit of breaking in. That is better already. Now, the only thing here is I'm going to need a hospital, because I can see already that turning this, when I turn around here, that is quite sharp. And maybe there's a way to turn it without, probably is, without getting your hand there. I don't know. That might be okay. But also there's not a heap of room to grip here. So you can see the actual grips there. There's not that much room. So let's see if I can get another one. Holy cow. Just to recap, that turns well. I actually almost can't turn that. And you know me, I'm like a bodybuilding champion of the world. So if I can't turn it, and that's better. So what I suspect here is some lube will be required somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where. And perhaps a bit of tensioning. But again, once they start turning, like this one here, if I can get it turning, that's a big if. I can do. This is actually, I think I'm losing weight as I do this. Oh my goodness. Once it starts going, it does seem a little bit better. But wow, that is very, very stiff. Anyway, what is this thing? Skewby Rhombic. Is there any more on there? The puzzle turns very nice and is stable. Well, it's certainly stable, and that turns very nice, but no, they don't. It shapeshifts and is a lot of fun to solve. Yes, well, I guess what's happening here is if I do that as a skewb turn, that's an interesting one. Is that a normal skewb turn? Because I can see that's then going to turn like that. Can I go elsewhere? Where are we going to shapeshift here? Maybe we're shapeshifting because now I've got to find one that actually turned. There we go. That's one. Where I'll do that. Does that line up the skewb turns? I reckon that does. Yes. Okay. So that's at least one instance of the shapeshifting. I'm not sure if it's the only way, sort of the only turn that's going to make that happen, but it certainly is one. And then, of course, I can potentially do that as well. So is that's pretty nice. That's going to be very nice scrambling. Yes, you can see that there. So the question is that jumbling? I've got no idea. It doesn't say that it jumbles. So I would imagine if it did, it would probably be advertised as jumbling. But that's not to say it doesn't. At this point, I've nearly got to quit this video because I'm exhausted. There's some stuff there falling out. This is FDM printed, and he did tell me what that meant, but I can't remember it. So beautiful stickers. You can see there's no issues. They're all stickered with what to me looks like perfectly. So lovely. Very happy with that, apart from the turning of these faces, which I hope can be rectified. So that is the Skewby Rhombic. Okay, the next one here is called the Cubic Toru. And again, I'm going to read from the site. The Cubic Toru version 2 is a shape mod of the Toru designed by Matt Shepard in 2009. Now, the Toru, I believe, is the master ruler. And the ruler is a rhombic dodecahedron. And it's a shape-shifting one. And I think the Toru, as I said, is the master version. And then it's been cubicized to this one. This beautiful puzzle shape shifts and jumbles and results in a pretty good challenge, even for more experienced solvers. No kidding. So, how do I turn this? There. That looks like a cut. This is a massive puzzle, by the way, in terms of, like, where's my 3x3? There's my 3x3. Before I turn it, actually, just the stickering. Yes, correct colours, all good, no problems, happy with that. Now, let's try and turn it. That, I must feel like an absolute ignoramus on these videos because I never seem to know what I'm doing. This feels like it's got a bit of lube on it, so I don't know if it has or not. I'm assuming that will go like that. You can see that it is turning. Again, I'm just wondering if the tensioning here is a bit tight on both these puzzles so far, because I don't reckon it should be doing that. That's a little bit better. And then it kind of stops, and I've got to push through. And this stuff that's falling out, I imagine that's just part of the, whatever this FDM process is, and little bits will fall out for a little while until there's no more bits to fall out. I remember that happening with sort of some Shapeways or iMaterialise printed puzzles a few years back. Now this doesn't seem as stable as the other one. It's kind of like bits are, I don't know if that's how the mechanism works, but that's what's happening. But again, you can see it's quite difficult for me to even get a normal turn in here. Now, shape shifts. Well, let's say that I do, what are the normal turns? I can see there and there, is that, it looks like it's going to, what I do like about this sort of puzzle is it is symmetrical. So an example of one that's not quite, and it's causing me a lot of headaches, is the Praxicopter 3. I think it's an incredible puzzle. And part of the reason it's so difficult is it's not symmetrical. This is, from what I can see. So I might have a little bit more success with this if I can get it turning okay. Now I've got to try and line this up somewhere with maybe a cut there. I'm not really sure. Is that lined up with that cut? I think it, maybe it looks like it is. So if I then, certainly is. So you can see that is then going to, that's certainly shape shifting. Again, whether it's jumbling or not, leave that to the experts. But that is the cubic Toru also, which needs some sort of working, breaking in. And here we have the largest of the lot. This one is called the Vestanite Gem. Again, I'm going to read. The Vestanite Gem, named after the Vesta asteroid, is the third puzzle in the series of puzzles in the shape of rhombic tricontahedrons. The reason that I wanted to get this puzzle was because I don't believe I have a rhombic tricontahedron. And I thought it'd be pretty cool to say to kids, hey, do you have a rhombic tricontahedron? If not, why not? Well, now I do. It is the third face-turning rhombic tricontahedron ever made and is deeper cut than the helicopter dodecahedron. Wait, does that mean that one is a rhombic tricontahedron? I don't think it is. This puzzle also shapeshifts, which proves for an interesting solve. It is very stable and turns smooth. Well, let's hope so, because the others haven't so far. Now, being a rhombic tricontahedron, I believe it has 30 faces. And I was assured that there would be no issues with sticker colors, because I was like, you know, even Aton's star, which had 20, the colors were an issue there. Now I'm just looking around here. Let's have a look at the different shades of blue. I've got that. I got the light blue. They all look to be different enough. These two are potentially going to be an issue in the midst of a solve, I would think. But apart from that, these two greens are almost certainly going to be an issue in the midst of a solve. Okay, so I've got a couple of greens, a couple of blues. What about the reds? Yep, those two reds, they are definitely similar, and they also in the midst of a solve. At the moment, you can look at them and you can say, that seems a little brighter than that. Yeah, I get that. But when you're in a solve, it's definitely not always easy to do that. I would say these two yellows perhaps will cause an issue. There's no judgment here. I get it. It's very, very difficult to have 30 different colors. So no issues, just having a look and seeing what it's going to be. Love that color. Really like that color. That aqua color there as well is pretty cool. Yeah, all right. How does this turn? Doesn't actually say really how it turns, so I'm going to have to make this up. You can see the cut patterns are just beautiful. It's a beautiful looking puzzle solved. Can't imagine what it's going to do when it's actually scrambled, but to me it looks as though there's a cut there. Is it face turning? I don't know. Did it say that? It didn't say. Let me have a quick look at some of the pictures and maybe that will help me. Okay, well the first one, that should turn as I sort of looked at the cut and went, yep. Oh, my giddy aunt. That's an Australian saying, by the way, my giddy aunt. That means, holy cow. That I don't believe is an Australian saying. I actually can't turn that a full turn. Let's keep trying. Come on, 360 degrees. Got it. This yellow, let's try that. Yeah, these faces are ridiculously stiff. Way too stiff. I don't know. Maybe Chewy's got enormous biceps. I'm not sure. But that is almost unturnable at the moment. And you can see, okay, here's a slight potential issue if this is not properly lined up. Now, how do I get that lined up? Make sure that's there and then continue turning. Now, of course, I am not saying that a bit of lube and a bit of braking in won't make this better, but I've got to say out of the box, no, this does not turn smooth in any sense of the word. In fact, I'm having trouble getting that face back to where it belongs. Before I get it back, maybe I can see if there's any shape shifting that I can kind of identify. Did it say this jumbles? No. So it just said shape shifts. Again, sometimes it's just so difficult to tell whether it's jumbling or shape shifting. Obviously, you're trying to look for something that, you know, a cut will line up. That potentially to me looks like it might, but then again, yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's a bit of jumbling. You can see that little bit coming off, and that's the only bit that comes off there. What else have I got? Where else can I take it? There's another, no, that's not going to work. To be honest, it's difficult to even get my head around this because it's so difficult to turn. So I'm kind of like, I'm just trying to get home, if that makes sense, rather than figuring out weird and wonderful. I'm genuinely not making this up. This is almost impossible to turn. At this point, I'll be happy to get it back to there. And no, I'm not that unfit. That's a bit better. Now, I'll turn that back. Sometimes faces turn, they get turning okay one way, and then you try and turn them back the other way and you've got a problem. And that seems to be what's happening here. Actually, I'm having trouble turning this back clockwise. If I turn it anti-clockwise like that, it doesn't seem too bad. That turns better. I don't know why some of them are turning great and some not. I'm assuming it's the tensioning. I'm assuming under here. If I was to lift that off, maybe there's a screw. I don't know. But again, it does annoy me that, you know, you pay a lot of money for a puzzle and it doesn't turn properly. The beautiful puzzle, and I hope that I can get it going, that is the Vestanite gem. And just on that Vestanite gem, one of the big issues with stickered puzzles is if you're having trouble turning and what you're doing is gripping so hard that you're actually forcing the stickers and they will eventually just come out of place and disappear. And that's what's happened on some of my puzzles previously. So I'm quite concerned that that sort of thing is going to happen on these. Now, I'd mentioned earlier there was the free puzzle, well, not the free puzzle, but, you know, the fourth puzzle, I suppose. And I must have ended up deciding on this one. I had to look it up, what I'd actually bought. This one is called the Pallanite gem. It's similar to the Vestanite gem in that it is a rhombic tricontahedron. Here's the Vestanite. You can see they both have faces that are rhombuses and they both have 30 faces. The reason, looking at it now, that I went for the Pallanite gem, why would I go for two that seem pretty similar, is this is a shape mod of the Radiolarian 3. Now, I now have a Radio 3 Cube. I have a Radio 3, what was that one called? A Star Scepter that I need to get onto. And I thought, I don't know what it is about the Radio 3. A lot of people seem to be making shape mods of it. But this is a rhombic tricontohedron shape mod of that Radio 3. The name comes from Pallas, the third largest asteroid in our solar system. Okay. This puzzle turns very smooth and is stable. Well, I'm sorry, I don't believe that that's going to happen, but maybe I'll be proved wrong here. The stickering, again, I'm going to assume that the stickers are basically the same as the previous one. They look pretty similar. Just having a quick glance. And I'll also assume that they're in the same places. That would be what I would like. And that does indeed seem to be the case. So that's good. So this one, I don't have here how that's going to turn. I might have a quick look. I'm assuming it's on these faces. When I look at this, it just seems to be obvious, but let's have a, yeah, that looks like it should go. So if I do that, you can see that's easier than the Vestanite gem. But yeah, definitely not smooth. I reckon it all might be partly tensioning because this one just feels a little bit looser, right? And it's turning, wouldn't say way better, but it's turning a little bit better. You can kind of see, having said that though, you can also see there's a bit more gaps here. So look, I don't understand the full ins and outs of designing these things and how they work, but I do understand most English words. And I do understand what smooth means. That I can't actually turn that there. Did this one shapeshift? It didn't say whether this shapeshifts or not. I'm going to assume it absolutely does. And I'm going to assume it probably also jumbles. So let's see firstly, if I turn this face here, I actually can't turn that back now. Come on, a little bit more. Where's it blocked? Nowhere. And it still won't turn back. There we go. Ah, here we go. This might be a little bit better. Let's have a look at this and potentially where something else will turn. I'm just trying to look at that there and see if something's going to line up. Perhaps on another one. If you see anything, yell it out. I mean, I'm assuming it shapeshifts. That is that a 180? No, that's not a 180. That's a 120, and it doesn't seem to be sticking up. So that, I'm going to assume that's sort of a standard turn, if you like. Now, in terms of shapeshifting, it means I must have missed something somewhere through there as to where it is going to do that extra turn. I'm just sort of looking anywhere. Can I see anything? I actually can't. I mean, I note, to be fair, that it does not say that it shapeshifts. I'm just surprised if it doesn't, but maybe it doesn't. That's, yeah, I've got one more turn to get back there. Surely something happens here. Is it that? Ah, here we go. Yeah, as I said, I would have been surprised if it didn't do this. So now that I've done that, I can't actually get it back. But you can see, yes, it does shapeshift. Well, you know, if you've been watching my channel for over 10 years, you will know that I call things as I see them. And if you think back to the Wit Eden, what was that puzzle? The 2x2 Mega Mix, which was just a complete joke of a puzzle. I called it as I saw it then. And I'm calling it as I see it now with these puzzles. These are absolutely gorgeous puzzles. Beautiful puzzles. I mean, I'm very, very happy to have them. I will say, it took a while. And I will also say, despite the stickering being beautiful, perfectly done, I've got no issues with that whatsoever. I do not understand how these could be called smooth in any sense of the word. So there it is, just to be really clear, if you are thinking of ordering, just, beware. You may get a puzzle that is not as smooth as you think. It may take a while, as long as you're aware of that. This may also end up being my last unboxing. I might have had enough. As always, thanks for watching.